the art of not caring is pretty important, I think. As you get older, I think you become better at it because you realize like there's not that much that's really important besides the really important stuff, which is just being healthy and just waking up and being able to do kind of what you want. When you're younger, there's you're constantly kind of battling or arguing with your parents, with your peers. You don't necessarily know like who you are or what you're gonna do, or your life isn't really figured out. So there's a lot more, younger people. I'm almost 30, but I've noticed it from younger people. It's like, whoa, I'm not really that young anymore, because I can see their energy is so much different than mine, and they care about things that I wouldn't necessarily care about at all. You're way more concerned about how you look and the clothes you're wearing, and if you're to the age where you're driving a car, it's like very important to drive. For some people, it's like, I got to drive this type of car to impress this type of people or whatever. And you're more not materialistic really, but you're just more you take note of those things more than you do when you get older. And then when people, I'd say past like 50, you still see some people that are materialistic certainly in their late 20s, 30s, 40s, and even up to being dead, they still care about that. But most people, when they get like past 40 or 50, they just do not care, right? And it is after life kind of beats you down, and you realize that no one really cares about you. They care about themselves, and I'm the same way. I mean, everyone has to care about their own situation first. You're not really too concerned about what other people are doing. And when you're younger, you might think, you have the tendency to think that everyone's always talking about you, or that everyone's always thinking about you, because the world is like kind of centered around you, and you can't see that the world is a much bigger place, and that everyone is their own person, so they have their own thoughts, their own desires, their own things they want to do that certainly don't involve you. So it's hard though to grasp that at a younger age, because again, just the way that you're developing and that you're interacting with all these different people, you tend to kind of overthink what people say, or what you think they might think about you. And I think that's just a part of getting older. But once you do get to that point, it's almost just like your world becomes smaller, right? Like, there's not a bunch of people that are really involved in your life unless you want them there. People go on so many different paths. I'd say like when you graduate high school, after a few years, it's crazy, it'll happen. You'll have a couple people that will get married. You'll have a couple friends that were really good friends of yours that you probably will never talk to again. Vice versa, you might have a person that you never really talk to much throughout middle school or high school, and then maybe they're still around, or you run into them and you kind of become friends with them, and that sort of thing. But for the most part, you probably won't communicate much with the people you grew up with. I'd say most people don't, because everyone's just going different directions. Marriage, kids, job. They move across the country. They do different things, right? So everyone takes off. Unfortunately, you'll have things like death. You'll have people that are young and that get into an accident, or die at a young age, or have some sort of problem and they end up in the hospital or dead, and it's kind of tragic, right? A lot of that happens even when you're still in school. Like, we had a couple people die that were still when I was in like middle school and high school. There's always people that, whether it was like driving or drug related, or just kind of a weird health cancer thing, or whatever, right? So that's always sad. But once you get out of that ecosystem of all these people that I've been with for 15 years, 18 years, I guess, It's really more like 12 to 15 years. You're in like the same kind of schooling system for an extended period of time. Once you get out of that, you're like, man, this thing didn't matter at all. Like, the world is so much bigger than maybe the town I went to school in, or the people, the 1,000 people I knew, or 2,000 people, however many it is, that I went to school with. And that would be something that, I just remember my dad. It was hard to, I think as a kid, it's hard to just be told things and to take them as fact, because you have to experience things yourself in order to really learn that lesson. Someone could tell you not to do something or to tell you to do something, but until you kind of decide for yourself to do it, then you don't necessarily learn that lesson. But I remember he was just like, it doesn't really matter, it's not important. And to me, it seemed really important, because it's like, hey, I'm like tunnel vision here. This is my life. These are the things I'm doing, and this is all that's on my plate. I don't have this other perspective of being outside of this kind of echo chamber of the education system. So that's why you see all these people that are like, they're so concerned about their grades. They're really concerned about, making sure that they do all these activities and, getting straight A's or whatever. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I just think in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter. It matters maybe a little bit so that you can get, maybe your high school grades matter a little bit if you want to get into like a really prestigious school. But other than that, it's not that important. And I think it does set like a, obviously if you want to have like a routine of doing the right things. And people always say that about college, it's like, hey, can you show us that you went somewhere for however long, 4 years most of the time, and just did all the tasks? We knew that they're really not that important, but it shows that you can show up, you can do what you're told, and you can complete tasks, right? And kind of sacrifice 3 to 5 years of your life to show that you know what you're doing, right? And that you can be relied on, or counted on to move to the professional or working world. So I don't know. That's just kind of my thoughts for today. As you get older, you kind of realize nothing really matters. My dad also said one time, or he said it a lot, but how many times have I been asked where I went to school? 0. In the professional world, no one cares, right? In the professional world, or even just in the working world, most people don't really care about you, right? They care about, what do you want? What are you proposing? What can you do for me? And we're not going to really talk about, where did you go to school? And, are you qualified to talk to me? Or, it's not like that. It's much more transactional, and it's much more, what do you have to offer? How can you help me? Because at the end of the day, again, it's all about me, and it's all about whoever you are. You're mostly concerned about you, right? So what am I getting out of this? How is this other person going to help me? And it's so obvious, like when you get into the working world, if you have a first, especially if you're in like a sales job, oh my God, you'll see people that are just, it's so one-sided, these conversations they're having, because they're only concerned about how they're going to get paid, right? I don't really care about your problem. I just care about how I'm going to get paid. And if I really can sell you something, and whether or not that's good for you, I don't care, because it's good for me, right? So I'll sell you whatever, because I only care about me. If you have to pay $1,000 a month and I get a commission off of it or whatever, then go ahead, we'll do it, right? You're going to try to make that sale. Now, to me, I don't really care about making a marginal dollar if it's not something the person really wants. But there's plenty of people out there, and you can sense it in their voice. Like if you talk to real estate agents or just straight commission salespeople, they are literally like salivating for sales, because again, that's a lot of the times it's the only way they get paid. But you can sense it in their voice. It's like so dire to them. They're so desperate for you to buy something from them, because that's the only way that they can they can get paid. Real estate's one of the worst ones. Like, you know, people will just constantly contact you if you show any modicum of interest and you're qualified. You have to kind of watch out, because again, and I know that, it's like, you should know that, you know, most of the time the people are talking to you, it's because they're trying to gain something. They're not really trying to help you. They're trying to help themselves. And, you know, maybe they can help you out by helping themselves out, but a lot of times they'll just be so naggy because they're not getting paid anything unless you do something with them, like a big transaction, right? So anyways, I've gotten kind of way off topic, but it's a beautiful sunny day here. I thought I'd just talk about random stuff. Anyways, you guys have a great day, and take care of yourself.